Hey guys, my name is Ben Howard. Today we're out here at Holston Creek Res to try out one of Divergent Disc's lineups. If you've never heard of Divergent, they have two main lineups really. The first one being kind of like Latitude's beginner discs, where they're super light, super flippy. And then the lineup we're going to be looking at today is their Stay Put line, which is approach discs or overstable stuff that's made of rubber and obviously meant to stay put. Only got 3 discs in the lineup so far. First one we got the Alpus, which is basically their putt and approach disc. I think it's a 4-speed, but it's very interesting feeling disc because, as you can see, it's very low profile, and the rim is just super rounded off. Feels like they just took a bead, made it bigger, and that's just the rim. But it feels very comfortable forehand, backhand. Be really curious to see how this flies. Second one is the Golem, which is basically their version of a zone. It's actually a lot more overstable in a zone in my experience, and you can tell it's a lot deeper. So I would say it's somewhere between a zone and a zone OS, basically. And like it feels very similar to the zone OS. Finally, we've got the Worm, which is their fairway driver, and this might be the sickest stamp I've ever seen on a disc, honestly. It's really cool. But flight numbers on this, 9205. They claim that this is obviously the most overstable disc in their lineup, but might be one of the most overstable discs on the market. So I'm really curious to try that out. But first impressions of their plastic, I guess you would call it, it's not crazy flimsy. The Alpus is the most flimsy out of all of them, and like it holds its shape really well, even though I'm like barely holding it. If you're familiar with elevation discs, this reminds me a lot of their EcoFlex plastic, which is honestly, I would say, their best plastic. So I'd say these are really nice. I'm really looking forward to trying these out. Let's go and get in the video. All right, so for hole 1, we've got a par 3, 192 feet, just dead straight ahead. Really all you gotta do in this hole is decide which side of this tree you wanna go on. I'm gonna take the Worm just because obviously with them being rubber discs, I'm not gonna get any skip or any ground play out of them. So I wanna try and throw this just to make sure I get the actual distance, because as you can tell, the ground goes up towards the basket and you've got a low ceiling. So it's really important to get the height correct on this shot. Let's see what we can do with this thing. There we go. Oh, weird. Got like an anti-skip on that, but I think that's like circle 2. So let's see what we got. Be really curious to see how the Alpus putts. Hopefully I'm saying that right. If I'm not saying that right, please let me know in the comments. That's still putt. Ooh. One bad thing about these rubber discs, if you get them in sand or any dirt, it just likes to stick to it, makes them really slick. There we go. I had the same problem last time I did a video with these rubber discs. They just kind of come out of my hand weird. Oops. All right, guys, so on hole 2 is a par 3, 250 feet. Through this gap, tucked off to the right. We'll try Alpus on a turnover backhand. Just throw it at this tree right here in the middle of the fairway and just try and have it bend off to the right. Just hope I don't throw this into the cedar trees along the fairway. Oh, it's actually flippy too. Jeez, okay. Good to know. Sit. There we go. And just try throwing the Alpus just straight at the basket. This time I just throw on the fan grip and just smooth it. Don't need to throw it hard at all. Huh. That time it acted stable. Okay. Weird. I would try and do a putt, but these Bradford pairs don't make it very easy. So just chip it in with a forehand. That'll work. Okay. All right, guys, so we're on hole 3. This is a par 3, 240 feet. Just dead straight ahead. Biggest thing you got to pay attention to is if you've got a low ceiling for the first 50, 60 feet, then it kind of opens up. But really just want to try and throw something a little bit faster than you normally would on this type of shot. So I'm going to try and take the worm and just throw it on a good amount of anhyzer, just see if I can kind of just have it pan, push forward, and just get up there for a putt. Ooh, that works. Dang, that thing came out of it pretty quick too. You could see it. I felt like I put on a decent amount of anhyzer, and it was already flat by the time it got to that tree. Let's give the golem a nice little approach shot. I'm just gonna throw it out to the left and a little bit of hyzer. See how well it holds it. Oh yeah, perfect. All right, so for hole 4, we've got a par 4, 440 feet. Basket straight ahead on top of this hill. I'm just gonna take the worm and I'm just gonna rip it on a bunch of anhyzer and just see what kind of stability this thing has. I want to test out that claim that it might be the most overstable disc on the market. Man. Yeah, that thing's definitely got a 5 fade. That's wildly overstable. Okay, so we got a good amount of distance out of it. Now I'm gonna try and take the golem. I don't know if I need to throw it on the anhyzer, if I can just throw it flat this far. I'll throw it on a little bit of anhyzer, just see if I can get it to push all the way up there, because it is a little uphill. Gotta give it some height. Can't tell how close that is, but that's exactly what I wanted out of that flight. That thing feels really comfortable forehand and backhand, which is pretty rare for me especially with approach discs. Because I normally hate flat discs for my backhand, but that thing feels really, really good. All right, let's make a putt. There we go. All right, guys, so we're on hole 5. This is a par 4, 350 feet. Basically on the tee shot, you're trying to set yourself up with the 2 main gaps on this one. The one that's closer to us is like right on the side of this hill you can see in front of us, and the other one's about 30 feet past it. The one that's closer to us, you have like a straight shot right to the basket, while if you go long to the other one, you have to kind of bend something around a corner. So you much rather set yourself up for the one that's closer to us, but once you get down there, the basket on the side of a hill, and then the ground drops off behind the basket again, and there's OB beyond. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about once we get up there, but really, really want to set yourself up well off this tee shot, and then just give yourself a nice clean up shot to the basket. I'm going to take the Alpus. I'm going to fan grip it this time, and just throw it flat and smooth. Don't need to throw this very hard. Just put it right through the gap. That time it turned. Okay, interesting. Okay, so that cut roll didn't really help too much, but I'm not in a bad spot. I'm just gonna have to lay up to the gap. We've got, you can kind of see it in the little dirt patch right here makes the far side of the gap. So I want to be short of that. But let's see. Sit. Yeah. It's the best part about these. They actually do sit. Yeah. From here you can see what I'm talking about. Like the ground's sloping to the basket, and then behind the basket it drops off immediately. So just want to put this short of it. I'm gonna try the Alpus again. I'm gonna give it a little bit of hyzer this time and just see if I can get it to kind of pop to flat. Just push straight. Don't need to throw this hard. Just maybe not even like, we're gonna go with 40%. Nice and smooth. Oh yeah, sit. Okay, That's pretty good. That's probably going to be like 30 feet. Spin it. Ah, almost. Felt really good. Just didn't. Just need it. I don't know. I'm expecting that thing to fade, but it's really not going to. It's a little too understable for a putting putter, I would say. I mean, it's nice. It's got a ton of glide from outside of circle, but maybe kind of one of those. I guess it's probably what this disc is meant for, is to be a disc you could run really long putts with, but stick by the basket. All right, guys, so we're on hole 6. This is a par 3, 180 feet, just dead straight ahead. The only thing to really worry about is obviously we got to hit this gap, but the ground slopes from right to left with the basket being off to the right. So you really want to try and throw some kind of forehand that'll hold its height for the majority of the flight. So I'm going to see if I can do that with the Golem. Just throw it. I'll throw it. I'll throw in a little bit of Anheuser and just see if it'll hold its height. Nope. Oh, actually got some ground action off that. So I'll have like a long putt at it. Come on. Ooh, almost. Yeah, you can tell that's what that kind of putt is what the Alpus was definitely designed to do. Just give that a nice long bid and still just kind of right next to the basket. All right, so for hole 7, it's a par 3, 260 feet. Basket's just straight ahead as you can see, but it's completely surrounded by OB, with it being marked by the paved path that goes around it and this tall grass in front of us. Really just going to try and smash this out there on some Anheuser and just see if I can get it down right next to the basket. Oh, nope. I think that's okay. I think that's safe, but I didn't. I threw that just straight at the basket. I was scared to throw it over the water, but I needed to throw it over the water. Jeez. I got a lot more distance out of this than I thought I would have. I thought it was going to be closer to the short, OB short, but I'm actually pinned high. Let's go ahead and make a putt. I can't do that. I think it's going to drop, but those things don't drop. I'm not going to lie to y'all. The Golem feels like a better putter than the Alpus a lot of times. All right, guys, so we're on hole 8. This is a par 4, 400 feet. Basket's through this gap, tucked way off to the right, but we're not worried about that right now. All we're trying to do is either have something land on the side of this hill in front of us or just on top of it and just give ourselves a nice, easy approach shot into the green. Biggest thing to pay attention to is we've got OB marked by this path and beyond. So I'm going to take the Golem and just throw it out there on a good amount of Anheuser and just try and get it to flex out. I would throw the worm, but I'm afraid it's going to go too far left. So I'm just going to just try and see if I can get a nice straight shot out of the Golem. Not enough Anheuser, but sit. Okay. Be curious to see what we got from there. So I ended up doing what I was worried about doing with the worm, but luckily it wasn't too bad. Still got good footing, not too far from the basket. Just threw the worm out there and just try and get the stick next to the basket. A little too far out to the right. Okay, that's a putt. A little bit of a headwind, so just got to be careful about this lifting it too high. Did it again. Just throwing it up. I got to get that nose down, spin it. Ooh, almost. There it is. Ah! All right, guys, so we're on hole 9, final hole of the video. Par 3, 260 feet, just dead straight ahead. I'm just going to try and take the worm and just flex it on a forehand. Right, these trees off to the left, see if I can get to bail out right under the basket. Ooh, get down. Don't go in the tree. Okay, that's a putt. Yeah, there's no way I can actually run the basket from here. I am outside the circle, so I could lay out a little bit, but I've got too low of a ceiling, really. There we go. There we go. All right, guys, that finishes up the round out here. I gotta say, I'm actually really, really surprised with how well these discs did. Just to kind of go in the order that I introduced them in, the Alpus, obviously I started out with it pretty rough. I did not think it was going to be as flippy as it was, but once I got used to it, I can really see having this disc in my bag just as like something I can just hit on a ton of hyzer, get to flip all the way up or flip a little bit, or just something I can carve up some woods with. And like it goes far, because like on hole 6, I only threw it on my approach shot. I only threw it probably less than 50% at least. So definitely would not say to power grip this one unless you just want to rip this on like a 90-degree angle. But very, very fun disc. Really fun putting putter. I don't like it inside the circle, as you could probably tell, but for like circle 2 bids, this thing's pretty sick, honestly. For the Golem, this might be my favorite disc out of the bunch. This thing is awesome. Just reliably overstable no matter what angle. Like ton of, and it's got like that zone kind of flight where it's like a good amount of glide, but a nice dependable finish at the end. Very responsive to angles. Even and like I think on a hole 8, I kind of, bad thing for me is I power down on my anhyzer shots when I need to be powering up on them. And I think that's what happened on hole 8 and some of the other holes. Golem might be my favorite disc out of all of them. This one doesn't, I was worried with these, like how they would react on a forehand a lot of times. Like because obviously with the forehand, you're adding way more torque. And with these rubber discs, they're going to stretch and bend in a lot of different ways. And I mean, with my forehand's very smooth. So I think that helps a lot with these. But I think honestly, if you have a really a wobbly or something like that forehand, these really won't react too much different for you because the rim's very stiff. It's feels really, really good and nice and overstable. This is probably the type of disc the rubber is the most useful for, because it's going to stick wherever it lands and it's not going to roll, not going to do anything crazy. It's just going to and just sit there. So really, really nice disc. And then finally we've got the Worm. And this one, I wasn't expecting it to be as overstable as it was. This thing is beefy. This thing, I would say, is definitely close to that 4 to 5 range in fade. It's got a lot more glide than I was expecting out of it, honestly. It got me a lot of distance on a few holes, especially like hole 7. Didn't really feel like it hindered me in any way, but it definitely has that just nice finish. And it fades early, which I like a lot out of one of these discs, because that means you could put on some anhyzer and have it just kind of stand up. It's not going to drift or like fall. It's just going to push, fade out, and go. Kind of like what it did on hole 9 for me. I'm tempted to throw this in my bag, honestly, just because of how overstable it is, and how like kind of like what I said with the Golem. This thing held up to a forehand torque very, very, very well. So might make my bag. We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get in contact with CI. I reckon we might have to make a elevation versus Divergent discs battle sometime. That was one thing I was thinking about during the round is these. If you did like a my bag chart with these discs and the elevation discs, I really don't think you'd have any overlap. I like the Golem and the Interceptor are like the Golem's way more overstable than the Interceptor consistently. The Alpus is faster than a lot of their putters, so it's this one flies a little bit closer to like a mid-range kind of, like maybe not, kind of like a Soul, where like it's in between a putter and a mid-range and you kind of use it for both. And the Worm is way more overstable than the Gecko and especially the Binks. So I might have to do a video where I just have a full bag of rubber discs and play with that. It'd be a lot of fun, honestly. So if you'd like to see that or my seed battle with Sea Iric, definitely subscribe and stay tuned. But thank y'all so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.